Ladies and gentlemen, Gotham Chess recently called Norway Chess 2025 the greatest movie, or a real chess movie. And it is. It's probably the greatest movie chess has produced in quite some time. We have a nail biting finish in Norway Chess between Magnus Carlsen and Gukesh. Gukesh, I believe, is half a point. Magnus Carlsen heading in to the final round. Magnus Carlsen yesterday defeated Fabiano Caruana. He is still lurking in the background. He plays Gukesh today. So a winning classical for Fabi. And if Magnus doesn't get the job done in the classical portion, could see Fabi with an outside chance of winning. But it is headlined by Gukesh Damaraju, the world champion, and the world number one, Magnus Carlsen, looking for his sixth Norway chess title in 7 years. We're going to start with the game that didn't really matter today, Hikaru Nakamura. I'm going to let this serve as a backdrop while I tell you what Hikaru had to say in the confessional earlier in the round. He said that Gukesh was going all out against Fabiano Caruana, and Magnus Carlsen was going in quite the opposite approach. He was looking for a stable game, not really upset about pressing for a win, more than happy to take a draw should the position require it, and Gukesh really needing the win because the win is 3 points. You go to Armageddon, you're only getting a maximum of 1.5. And here we saw Hikaru had to defend well. Eventually, Wei sacrificed the rook and found a perpetual check. No real drama here, and Hikaru and Wei would go on to Armageddon. So we're going to now have a look at Magnus Carlsen versus Arjun Erigaisi. Now, if Magnus wins this game, he is the Norway Chess champion for 2025. If it is a draw, Gukesh can overtake him with a winning classical or bettering Magnus's Armageddon result. So, Arjun is playing with the white pieces. He plays d4, we get d5. c3, e6. c3, e6. e6. Oh my gosh, the English is not Englishing. Knight c3, knight to f6, and we get this exchange queen's gambit and then bishop to g5. Knight, bishop to e7, e3, short castles, bishop to d3, h6, bishop to h4, c6, knight e2, and the players just develop their pieces, and a5 gets played by Magnus. And we get f3, which, I know Ben Feigl doesn't say to play it, but you don't want to trade this bishop off, and you also don't want it looking here. I mean, it's not a bad diagonal, but you could get it here, and then also prep e4, which is going to be a big break. And black is doing what they're supposed to do and taking space on the queen side with the pawns and really clamping down here, getting their play going on the queen side. White's going to look to strike here and on the king side. So queen c2, rook e8, e4 now from white, but b4 right back. Knight to a4, d takes e4, f takes e4. Now the f-file rook is open for some attacking chances. Knight takes e4. Lovely tactic here, because you see that bishop's hanging. So you can take the pawn, because if bishop takes bishop, queen takes, defends the knight. So we get bishop takes bishop, queen takes, and now we grab a pawn. Arjun grabs a pawn. I mean, it's level, because Magnus took the pawn in the center, right? So we get knight e to f6. And by the way, up until here, there is still a game left in the database. It's not by any players that I would recommend you go look for, but there's a game in the database. Now, officially, we have a brand new game, according to at least my database. And it starts with an inaccuracy by Magnus Carlsen. These players have still not really thought as much. Move 17, 1 hour 14, 1 hour 22. So they've spent about 40 minutes getting here. Did Magnus just hang a rook? Queen a3 check. Picks up the bishop. So we've given up the exchange, because the knight comes out and you can grab this pawn. What is going on? So white has got 2 rooks. Black has got 3 pieces and an extra pawn. That is the extra pawn, though. So I don't know what Magnus is doing, but he hung a rook. He got a bishop back for it, but is that going to be enough? Rook 81, queen e5, and Arjun Erigaisi is better against Magnus Carlsen. Is he going to play spoiler for the Norwegian in Norway? Because if Arjun wins this, all Gukesh needs is a draw, because he's guaranteed a point. Rook c1, knight f8, We take the bishop. Magnus grabs a knight. Now, very important here. You can't take the queen because that hangs, right? Also, you have to do something because I'm threatening to take your rook and mate you. So tactics all over the place. And because of that, Arjun finds a way to defend his rook, and Magnus is not worse. So we trade queens, and we get this position, where Magnus has got a knight and a rook and a pawn for a queen, which is 9-9. We are on equal material. But this knight is kind of stray. So if you trade off the knights, for example, yeah, these knights just disappear. These knights disappear. Magnus might be better. He might not be because the queen's very powerful. So Arjun's always got chances to draw this game. So we get h3. Now there's no back rank problems for the king. Rook to d8. Queen a6. Those black pawns might fall. If these black pawns fall, white has very good winning chances. So black really needs to coordinate their pieces. Rook to d5, defends the pawn, gets kicked out, and now rook c5. Knight to c4, knight to e6. An inaccuracy, and Arjun Erigaisi is better if he plays knight takes a5. Just simply grabs a pawn, which he does. Now g5 for Magnus, and knight to c4 is an inaccuracy, but Arjun is still winning. And now he's going to secure his knight on that square, and he's going to start targeting black's pieces. Magnus continues with g4, trying to activate his pieces as best he can. We get b3, g takes h4, g takes h3, g takes h3, g takes h3, rook h5, and now Arjun has one and only one move, and he has to play king g2. King g2 is the best move. Instead of that, he plays king h2. You might say, what's the difference? Because, king g7, queen b4, your king is too passive, right? And this one square, you can be cut off on this file, which is a problem. Now knight to g5. Now how do you defend the pawn? Knight to d6. You're going for your own counterplay, but rook takes h3. It's now a draw. King g2. Rook d3 hits the knight. The f7 pawn is still defended. Knight f5 check. King g6. Knight e7 check. King h5. And now you've got three moves that hold. You can play king f2. You can play queen b5. And you can play queen a6. These are the moves that you can play that hold the position. You can start pinning stuff, attacking stuff, and just getting your king out the way of potential infiltration checks and getting harassed by the knights. Instead of that, we play queen takes b4, which is losing for one move, and one move only. And Magnus Carlsen finds it, knight f e4. And now you've got major problems. King f1 comes, and now rook to d2. We are threatening to mate this king with the knights and the rook. The king is very passive now, and queen b5 just makes things worse. Check. King runs up. Rook d2 check. King f1. Are we going to repeat? No. King g4. Queen f5 check. King g3. Queen e5 check. King f3. It looks like it's getting close. Check. King escapes. Is it going to be a draw? Is it going to be a draw? No. Maybe. Is it a draw? Where's the draw? Knight takes a2. Magnus is still winning. He wins this game. He wins Norway Chess. Queen d7. Rook a1 check. Forces the king up. Now rook a2 check. King goes back. Rook a1 check. The winning moves here for Magnus Carlsen are knight c5, hitting the queen, or king e5, which looks counterintuitive, but you'll be able to cover yourself and protect yourself with the knights, and you've got to keep this king in the background. Instead of that, he plays rook a1 check, and the game is now a draw because of king e2. And now the only real way to draw is to play rook a2 check, which he does, and we get king e1. And the game ends in a draw, with the evaluation saying Magnus Carlsen is minus 1.7. So Magnus Carlsen will be going to the Armageddon. So Gukesh now, who we know earlier from Hikaru was going all out against Fabiano Caruana, has the chance to win Norway Chess. If he wins this game against Fabi, he wins the lot. Otherwise, if this is a draw, he has to better Magnus's Armageddon score. So, what I mean by that is, he would need Magnus to lose the Armageddon, and he would have to win, and then they would draw. And then I don't know what would happen, if they'd play a playoff, or if, I don't know, Magnus would get it because he's Norwegian, or Gukesh would get it because he's younger, I don't know. Because I think the head-to-head record's the same, they both won against each other. e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to c4, knight to f6, d3. It's in Italian. How provocative can you get? h6. Well, that's as provocative as you can get. Excuse me, at the high level. Because I can tell you what the plan is. It's to push pawns, it's to do stuff, and it's to attack white. Like, you do not play this just as a move. You play bishop to c5, you play d6, you play something, really. You do not play h6. It's a move that gets played, but not in this order. a3 now from Fabi. g6. Knight c3, because you don't need to play normal Italian, because black's not playing normal Italian. Bishop to g7. h3. Fabi's just waiting. He's like, Gukesh, what are you doing? d6. Now bishop e3. Fabi's just developed all these pieces. a6. Queen d2. Bishop to e6. No games found in the database that I can have here. Bishop takes e6. Bishop takes e6. Knight e2. g5. This is what Gukesh has cooked up. He's like, right, I'm going to damage my pawn structure, and I'm just going to attack you here. I might play like queen e7, long castles, have rook on the f file, have rook on the h file, and just bulldoze. And Fabi, there's nothing you can do. I'm the world champion. I'm better than you. Knight to g3. Queen d7. c3. Long castles. b4. I mean, Fabi's got a target. He's like, well, if you're going this way, I'm going that way. Because there's a king there. Fabi actually hasn't castled yet. And there are possibilities where he doesn't castle and he plays something like king e2. Particularly if the center becomes locked. If these pawns become locked somehow, I mean, black always has this d4, d5 break. But if the center becomes really locked, then you can keep your king in the center. Because committing to either side might be a problem. So there's always the chance. Fabi might castle, he might not. d5. I told you black's always got their break. Queen e2, getting out the way. d4 now. Now we're looking maybe a bit locked. C takes d4, c takes d4, and bishop to d2. Now the pawn structure is locked. Like, these four pawns can't really move. The only pawn breaks are with this. Like, that's what they've got left. Otherwise, it's pushing flank pawns, looking for infiltrations. Queen e7 is a slight step in the wrong direction by Gukesh. The best move was to play g4. You committed to the attack, so you should do it. Rook b1. Knight d7, and now short castles from Fabi. He's fine now to short castle. I don't know why. It looks dangerous, but actually, black has, like, they've been forced to go backwards. And yes, you can say, well, this knight's coming in this way. You've still got, like, these pawn pushes, but this bishop's kind of sealed. Your rook, I suppose, can get in on this file, but your attack might be quicker. Like, you might legitimately have a bigger attack. So we see. Knight d5. Knight to h5. We just get out the way. Takes, and now the bishop comes in. And b5 takes, rook takes, queen takes. Now the whole file is clear on the queen side. This pawn might be a poison pawn, really. Because although not right now, you've got a rook that can come and operate on that file. If not, rook here. And just straight up putting up massive threats. If I can get the English to English. Rook c1. Targets the knight. No other way to describe it. We hit the queen. Queen drops back. Now the bishop comes back to try and retreat, to defend. e5. Look at that. Look at that. A move that almost looks impossible. But you're threatening, because you might say, can't I take? Well, you can, but I will sack. I will sack. And this is completely winning for white. There are just too many problems. Yeah, so you cannot take. Because rook takes e5, bishop takes e5, queen takes e5. So you cannot take. So we play rook. Oh my gosh, look at this. Rook f5. So the idea is if you take, you lose this. By the way, you probably can take, right? You probably can take. Because you lose this, but then you get that. There's a scenario. I'm sure Fabi would have calculated. Instead, he takes the knight. And we get this. Now we're threatening various checks. And now we take the bishop. So we got 2 pieces for the rook, and Fabiano Caruana is better. Rook takes a5, queen takes e6 first, and then we take the rook, intermezzo. Now, rook takes d6, now queen e7. How do you evaluate this position? Well, black has got a queen, and a couple more pawns, and a rook. White has got 2 pieces. You need to coordinate that. This knight is nowhere to be found. It needs to get back in the game somehow to one of these 2 squares. It needs to get somewhere useful. Black is going to try and firstly defend their king, and just start harassing the king and see if they can fork in such a way where they pick up a couple of these pieces. A queen trade's not necessarily winning for black because the 2 pieces could coordinate very well against the rook, but these pawns on the c-file might be a problem. White does have their own play though here. So queen a1 check, we defend with the bishop, and now c5. c5 is a bit premature from Gukesh. The only holding move here is queen a2, which I know looks shocking, but let's say you play f4. Now you've got queen e6. And you threaten the queen trade, you'll get queen takes e6, rook takes e6, and this is very different. This is very different. This is a better endgame to try and play from the black side, according to the engine. So instead of that, we get c5, which is a bit premature because now the knight drops back. Now you play rook c6, which makes sense. You're going to try and break through here. It's not where the play needs to be. King h2 now. Now the bishop can move again. Now queen a2, but now 94. The pieces are coordinating. We defend the knight. We give check, and now we don't take this, right? We don't take this. We'd rather get taken. So we play queen a4, and Fabiano Caruana is just better, and he gets this pawn, and he's threatening various problems on the king, and he might have a draw. He's coordinating. Oh my gosh. No, Fabi, what did you do? f4. Fabiano Caruana here is completely winning. He's got 2 winning moves. He can play queen a6 check, or he can play bishop f6, which hits the queen, defended by the knight. You've just got so many problems. Instead of that, he plays f4. Now, the only holding move for Gukesh is to play d2. Because even though you get something like bishop takes c7, there is queen takes c7, and now queen takes d5, but you have queen f4 check, knight to g3, and now something like king c7. And this apparently is a holdable endgame. Couple moves down the line. Fabi had to see that. I don't know how he would see it with a minute 20 on his clock. Gukesh down to 15 seconds. f4. He does play d2. Bishop takes c7. But he queens. We saw the line that he had to play. He had to just take the bishop. Instead, he queens. And he misses that I can take the queen. King takes d8. And now the only winning move, knight to c3, is a fork. And Gukesh resigns, which means Magnus Carlsen is Norway Chess champion. I will quickly just go through his game. He did play Arjun Erigaisi in the Armageddon. He already knew he was winning. He'd already knew he'd won. So we will just flick through the game. This is Wei versus Hikaru Nakamura. And this was the Armageddon game. They played another Italian, but a very different Italian. They didn't really trade pieces that much. Long castles, short castles, opposite side castling. It was a bit of a fight, a dog fight in the Armageddon. And it went down really to the wire. But 4 minutes 50 seconds for Wei versus 9 seconds for Hikaru. And eventually it was too much. And Hikaru did go down, I believe, on time. In something like this position, he may have resigned. Then we've got Magnus Carlsen versus Arjun Erigaisi in the Armageddon. Meaningless at the end of the day, but still a game to show you. We had d4 again, but not d5 for Magnus Carlsen, knight f6. And he just played a King's Indian because he could. He played something very fighting, which he didn't need to. He only needs a draw in Armageddon to get the points, but he's not worried about points. and he really pushed all his pawns. He attacked on the king side, and he was holding his own, and he leveled the time situation quite nicely. But in the end, he played queen h3, which was a mistake, and then we got here, and then a massive blunder. King takes e5 for some reason, getting his king in the center, and eventually his king did get mated in the middle of the board. Knight to d4, mate out of nowhere. So Arjun did defeat Magnus Carlsen, but it does not matter. We go full screen again. Magnus Carlsen wins Norway Chess 2025. Gukesh, so close. I think he finishes third or fourth because he would have been passed by Fabiano Caruana, and Hikaru may have gone past him. I'm not entirely sure. Heartbreaking for the young man. He's come close now to 2 major titles in 2025. He missed out on Tata Steel, on tiebreaks to Pragnananda. He misses out here on Norway Chess. He was half a point behind Magnus. Maybe he could have got it done had he not played so much. Could he have beaten Fabiano Caruana? Magnus ended up losing the Armageddon. Maybe he could have taken his game to Armageddon. He would also have the black pieces and draw odds. Maybe he should have been a bit more patient. We don't know. He's a young world champion, but he's the classical world champion, and that is not going to change until he defends his title, and we await to see who that will be. It could be the man who beat him today, Fabiano Caruana, who is the only man we know of so far to have qualified for the candidates tournament. Let me know what you think down in the description. Not in the description, in the comments. I do the description, you do comments. Comments are awesome. I respond all the time. I will see you soon for my training for the South African Open Chess Championship, June 28th to July 5th. I'll see you soon.